Hey guys, Power 5 Fanatics here with another video. This time we're going to be discussing this week's picks against the spread for Week 8 of college football. Very exciting times we're in because we're starting to get to some of the bigger games of the season.
Yeah, we're starting into the second half of the season, and we're as we said in our last video, we're starting to kind of get a feel for where things are at a little bit. But a lot of things still have to be decided here, and
yeah.
We picked about 11 games here that we're going to go over. Picked against the spread. I got my picks. Drew has his. A lot of them are the same, but some of them are different. We'll start off with Florida at South Carolina.
Yeah. First game here, we got I went ahead and we both went with Florida here on the road at South Carolina. South Carolina is a 5-point underdog. I think this is a tough spot for Florida, after coming off an emotional win or loss against LSU on the road, and now they're having to go again on the road to South Carolina, who just came off an emotional win against Georgia. But both these teams are probably going to be in that similar type of spot where, they feel like they have something to prove.
Yeah.
Which does make this game a little bit tricky, in my opinion, but I do think Florida is 5 points better than South Carolina, even at South Carolina.
Too. I think they're going to win by 7 to 10 points. And South Carolina, they had their big emotional win against Georgia, and in my experience, usually there is a little bit of a letdown, even though they are going to be playing at home. And Florida's still a quality program, without a doubt. And,
right.
So I think they definitely will win this, but it probably will be close. I mean, maybe into the third quarter close. So
yeah, Florida has impressed me, though, up to this point. Next game here, we got Auburn at Arkansas. Arkansas is a 19.5-point underdog at home. I'm going to go with Auburn here. It's a kind of a weird game. Who knows if Arkansas is going to be able to turn it on eventually.
Yeah.
And Auburn's been up and down, especially on offense.
I got the Razorbacks just from the fact I don't think they can keep playing this terrible the entire season. I don't think they're going to beat Auburn by any means, but maybe get a defensive touchdown or something early where they're kind of in the game for a while, but then Auburn pulls away. But I think Arkansas will cover the 19.5. I'm sure there's been a lot of record lines for Arkansas playing at home this year.
Right.
And this would be one of them. It's not something you're used to seeing that many points. Next, we got a Big 12 matchup. A couple of what I'd call, middling teams in the Big 12. Whoever wins this, will be back in the conversation.
Definitely begins to start controlling their own destiny.
Oh, yeah.
To get to the Big 12 championship.
Definitely. They're playing in Lubbock, Iowa State at Texas Tech. Texas Tech's getting a touchdown and 7 points, and we both like Texas Tech. I think, in fact, they have a real good shot of winning this game.
Yeah, I picked Texas Tech here because I think this is a tough spot for Iowa State. A lot of these games have kind of been that way so far, where there's just kind of like putting another team in a rough spot to try to go win a game. Iowa State's kind of on a hot streak right now, winning some games. I do think that as of what we know from the head coaches, Iowa State might have a superior head coach at the moment. So that's going to be interesting to see. But Texas Tech's kind of been able to turn it on the past couple weeks, competing with Baylor, who's an undefeated team on the road, really taking them down to the wire. And outside of a fluky ref call, might have been able to win that game. So 7 points in Lubbock is a tough thing to cover. We both like Texas Tech here at home.
The first 5 in a row are all home dogs. This is another one. LSU at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is getting 18.5 points. We both like LSU to cover. I think they're just rolling too good right now, and Mississippi State has really regressed this year in a lot of ways, and I just don't think they're going to have enough. I mean, I think it's going to be something like 45 to 10 or something like that. Like, could get pretty ugly.
I agree with everything Vince just said. It's LSU has been very dominant.
One of the best teams in college football.
Yeah. Across the board, they've been dominant.
Mississippi State's probably the third or fourth worst team in the SEC right now. So moving on to the Pac-12, this is the big marquee matchup in the Pac-12 easily. Oregon at Washington. Washington's actually getting 3 points in this game at home. But we both like Oregon. This is one where it's hard to pick on this one. I mean, I'll be honest with you, because the way Washington's been, they've been so Jekyll and Hyde, one of the more teams in college football this year. And not just where they're, I mean, at times they look great, Washington, and then they lay an egg, and they got beat by California at the house. Trying to remember who else they lost to. They've lost two games.
Lost to Cal, and then
might have been USC. I can't remember. Go back, look at the schedule though, and look at the scores, because it's up, down, up, down.
And then they beat Arizona really well, 50.
This last week, which I thought Arizona really had a shot of winning that game, and Washington just beat them down. So this is one of those where I don't know. I think Oregon, they in another video we're going to be putting out. Their defense is just playing so well. I think they're going to be able to get it done, but it might be another 20-12 game or something.
I do think Oregon's 3 points better than Washington right now.
Right, I do too.
But this is a tough game because it's a rivalry game. It's for in my opinion, the division, the North Pac-12 division.
Probably for the entire
conference. Both
these
teams are going to be extremely motivated in this game to prove that they are worthy. Washington wants to prove themselves because they have been so Jekyll and Hyde throughout the season on both sides of the ball. And Oregon wants to prove themselves as a possible playoff contender. And this is one of their tougher games remaining that they have an opportunity to really make a statement.
If they win this, they're probably going to win out, I would say, at least the Pac-12. Moving on to, I guess this would be an AAC matchup here, Temple at SMU. SMU is giving 7.5 points. We both like Temple. They're playing in Dallas.
Yeah.
My problem with SMU, I think they are a great team. They're undefeated. Their defense has been very suspect, but they just usually outscore you. And I don't know if they're going to outscore Temple by 7.5 points. Temple had that big game against Memphis last week, and at times this season they've looked really well. I mean, they've only lost one game. And so it's going to be tough for SMU to win this game, and so I don't think they're going to cover.
Both these teams have some great wins on their resume so far. Both teams have a Power 5 win. Temple beat Maryland early in the season. SMU beat TCU earlier in the season, and they both have some other great wins. Like Vince mentioned, Temple beat the undefeated Memphis. Temple, they were pretty good last year, but they've really kind of, shown to me at least that they're a really legitimate team that you do not want to have to play. I do think SMU will win this game. They are a 7.5 point favorite at home, but Temple's definitely going to make them earn it, and I think they are going to cover that 7.5 spread. So this will be one to watch for sure.
Next, we got another Pac-12 contest. I would call this the second tier of as far as how good the games are. Yeah. It seemed like we just have a lot of Pac-12 teams up there this week, but this is one, Arizona State at Utah. Both teams at times have looked really good. Arizona State's not blowing anybody out by any means, but they always win. Yeah. And they've only lost one game this year. I believe it was to Colorado, which was very much an upset. But this is at Utah. Utah is giving 2 touchdowns. Right. So I think that's just too much. They may very well beat Arizona State, but I think it's going to be less than 14 points.
Yeah, I definitely think Utah and Oregon are the 2 Pac-12 favorites at this point. I think Oregon's a little bit better than Utah, but I think Utah is right there with Oregon. But I kind of been going, with my thought process that Arizona State just always seems to cover.
Yeah, they do.
And they
win and they cover.
I think they're a really good team too. I think they're very well disciplined. I think they're very well coached, top to bottom on offense, defense, and special teams.
They could definitely be like a 9-10 win team this year.
I mean, Utah is on upset alert here for sure. I'm going to also take Arizona State to cover the 14. I do think Utah will win because I do think that they're probably the second best Pac-12 team right now.
I agree.
But Arizona State's a top 5 Pac-12 team right now. You do not want to have to play them, and covering 14 is going to be tough for Utah. So,
moving on, Baylor at Oklahoma State. This is a couple teams that one of them really has some big goals
Yeah.
ahead of them. Oklahoma State still got a chance to have a great season, get 8 or 9 wins. Oklahoma State is actually favored against the better team, which you would consider Baylor but they are favored at home by 4, not by a lot. And we both like Oklahoma State in this game. My reasoning is I just think their offense is better than Baylor's. I've watched Baylor and Oklahoma State pretty closely last couple weeks, and Oklahoma State's more consistent offensively. Baylor's got some problems throwing the ball.
Right.
And if their running game's not working right, they can really, they can really get stuck where they don't score for a quarter or so. And I think Arizona State's going to win by about 10 at home.
Yeah. I also have Oklahoma State here at home. This might be Baylor's first loss. And it's really hard to continue to put together huge wins.
Yeah,
especially after like a game
and
like
wins
last
that
week.
are at the last second or overtime. That's how they've been winning.
Yeah,
2 of the last 3 have been that way.
I do think right now they're probably the second best team in the Big 12 behind Oklahoma. But this is
that's debatable too. So.
It is, but
we'll see after this week. If they beat Oklahoma State, I have to agree with you. They're the second best team after Oklahoma.
I just like Mike Gundy at home here. I think it's a tough spot for Baylor to try to keep this train rolling. So I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here, and I'm going to call the upset as well.
Colorado at Washington State. Again, we've got a lot of Pac-12 schools.
Yeah, we do.
There's just a lot of
I think last week we had a lot of Big 12 maybe. Or
there just seemed like there's a lot of good matchups this week, and there's so many of those schools that are real close to each other. But Colorado at Washington State. Washington State's giving 12.5 in Pullman, and we both like Washington State to cover. Colorado has looked like we said earlier. They beat Arizona State. I believe it was week 2 or 3.
Yep.
Then they get blown out.
They also beat. It looked like a good win then. Nebraska. When that happened, it looked.
And then
like
they've not looked good. They got blown out
by
last week by
45 to 3.
Yeah, 45-3. Anyways, I think Mike Leach is going to get the thing rolling. Something like a 35-20 game is kind of what I'm thinking, and I think they will cover.
This time of year is when you start to see good coaches get their team playing better. Washington State's been very up and down, as we all know.
Yeah, especially in the last
UCLA.
month. They were. It was basically the UCLA
I think they
game.
started off 3-0, and then they maybe lost 3.
It was the second half of UCLA where the wheels started falling off.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been that way. It's been up and down since then. I think maybe they get the ship righted.
I do too. I think
where
they'll
they can
I think they'll get the ship righted, and they'll cover the 12.5.
And maybe even get 8 or 9 wins this year.
Yeah, who knows?
Big Ten matchup. Now this is the marquee matchup.
Yeah, the game day game.
Week. Michigan at Penn State. Happy Valley. Penn State's giving 8.5 points. I had originally had Michigan, but I've changed my pick to Penn State. I've been on the Michigan bandwagon ever since their loss.
Yeah.
To Wisconsin. I just kept thinking, okay, they're going to hang in there, and they have, and I got to give them credit for that. But I think on the road against Penn State, and Penn State's been one of the more complete teams in the nation this year. They've slacked a little bit offensively lately, but Michigan's shown nothing on offense really all year. The only time they can score is against teams like Illinois or trying to think who Rutgers. I think they beat Rutgers really bad. But other than that, they have a hard time scoring 20 points. So I think Penn State's going to cover this, 8.5 points.
Yeah, Penn State has one of the best home field advantages in all of college football behind LSU. I think odds makers give it a 7-point advantage. Like when they're just setting the game, they give Penn State like 7 points just off the bat. If it's a night game at
If you're looking at it that way, I think Penn State's definitely more than a point and a half better than Michigan.
Also, don't like Michigan so far in these big top 10 matchups. I mean, if you just look back at their last 3 big games, they played Ohio State, and they got beat really bad. We all know about that game. They played Florida in the bowl game, got beat really bad in that game, and then they played Wisconsin earlier this season.
And it was over at halftime.
And it just wasn't very pretty. I like Michigan. I like what they're trying to do, especially on defense. And I know they're really trying to get their offense rolling with Josh Gaddis, bringing him in there. They got great wide receivers. They got a great offensive line, but this is a tough place to try to win a game. Penn State.
That's really, more I think about it, it's really my pick of the week.
Yeah.
I can't even believe I was contemplating Michigan for a while, but it's just I don't think they're going to be able to get it done. Penn State is 7 points better without being at home field, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
so.
I've just seen this game. I've seen this too many times. I've seen a game where Michigan's had to go in and try to play one of these really good teams, and it just doesn't go well. I mean, I don't know what happens there. You know, you get some kind of turnover or something that just ends up as 6 points. Just some crazy stuff. It's a tough spot. I think Penn State's going to win this game. I don't know what the score will be, but I do think they'll win this game.
And lastly, Arizona at USC, playing in the Coliseum in L.A. USC's given a big number here, 10 points, I thought. I know Slovis has been playing well, especially for a freshman. Arizona has their senior quarterback, Khalil Tate. He's looked really good in some games. Some games he's disappeared a little bit, but I think he's going to give them enough to I'm not saying they're going to win this game. USC, I think, will win, but I think it'll be very close. So I think Arizona will cover. Drew doesn't agree with me on that.
I think this is a tough one because USC has been kind of up and down, but I think USC is actually a pretty good team. And I know that their record's not great, and I know that they got some losses kind of stacked up.
Their losses haven't looked bad, though. That's the thing about USC.
They lost to BYU, which wasn't a good loss at all. But then they compete with Notre Dame last week, and they've kind of just been doing that. And I know they beat a bad Stanford team, too, earlier in the season, which we thought was a good win. But USC, with Slovis back and the weapons they have on offense, Arizona, got absolutely embarrassed last week against Washington.
That one surprised me, playing in Tucson, too. I think Arizona will bounce back. I do think USC will win, though.
Wouldn't surprise me if Arizona does cover 10 points because that is a lot of points. But I'm going to go ahead and take USC to cover here. So,
well, guys, that's our take on it. Drew's been really good, especially the last 2 weeks. I believe he's on about a 16-6 clip. Wins, losses.
We'll see how I do this week.
It's my week to get one up on him. We'll see what happens. We appreciate you watching. Subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell. We'll have some more videos as we head into week 8. Appreciate you watching.